Today, we're going to be looking at the Chinese AI Manus, which is taking over the internet. It's pretty wild. I mean, here's a couple of examples. You can see this AI agent control browsers. It can, for example, control like 50 different screens at a time. It can even chat, like you can see right here. Here's another example. And so this is someone basically using Tesla, like you can see, and then Manus is prepping all the talking points. So you've got Tesla driving, and then you also have Manus just doing all the instructions for the meeting, etc. Now, if you want to get access, it's available at manus.im. I'm also going to show you an open sourced version of this that's pretty interesting. This basically allows you to run Manus locally, and I'll be coming on to that in a minute, plus how I set it up. All the details and all the links from today are inside the AI Profit Boardroom. If you just go to the S&P section and then Manus, you can see all the instructions for setting this up, open source and everything else. But yeah, and so here's an example of how it works. So if we click on like deeply analyze Tesla stocks, we can see a demo of how it works. We'll play this right here. And basically the prompt here is, I'd like thorough analysis of Tesla stock, including a summary, financial data, market sentiment, technical analysis, value investor, etc. Right? And you can see here how on the right hand side, it can just run commands. It can open up browsers. It actually has vision as well. So it can actually like interact with browsers and computer use and like scroll up and down the internet basically, on its mission to really look through the internet. Now, the other thing that I've noticed is like compared to, other models, which I'll come on to later, that are available, for example, like ChatGPT Operator. ChatGPT Operator, it costs $200 a month, and it can't even do half the stuff that this can. This can also create like files as well, and it can also deploy to the internet different URLs that it creates, which is pretty wild as well. And you see here some of the images that it's created, which is pretty cool. So you can like analyze and look at charts. And also, if you want to skip through in the demos, like examples of what it looks like, etc., you can just click the forward arrows right here. And then once it's completed, you'll see an example like this. It's like, right, I've completed the market sentiment analysis for Tesla. Here's what I've noticed. So it's looked at like Yahoo Finance, research reports, insider trading activity, SEC filings, social media sentiment, and then it's come back like this. Plus, you can see all the files in the session. You can actually download these. So you can have a preview it now, or you can download them later, right? So if we click on preview here, we can preview the images that it's used inside the document. Pretty wild. And then you can see the full chat right here. So there's a bunch of different demos that you can test out, like you can see. And also, when you're using this process, you can actually run this locally. So let me show you an example. Here's an example of me using Open Manus, which looks like an open source sort of recreated version of Manus. It just doesn't have the same UI, but it's running inside Terminal. Now, if you want to set that up, you can actually go to GitHub. Let me pull this up. It's inside the AI Profit Boardroom if you want to join and get the instructions for setting up. But basically, you can go to Open Manus on GitHub. I would definitely install it inside a virtual environment. So I use Minicoder to set this up. If you want the instructions on how to do that, inside the AI Profit, so just click on the setup instructions right there, and you'll learn how to set up. But basically, like you can see right here, you can basically do research just like Manus, but it's hosted locally, and it can still connect to the internet and everything else. It can still do, for example, like Google searches, and you can open up the browser and also. So what you do is you create a new content environment, clone the repository, install the dependencies. Probably took me about 30 minutes to figure out, okay, how to set up, but you can just follow the instructions here. It will save you a lot of time. And then I was wondering like whether this is legit or not, but it's got like 2,400 forks, 15,800 reviews, 155 people watching it. And it's created by these guys who are actually from Meta GPT's team, as you can see. So the problem with, for example, like trying to use Manus directly, if you go to get started here, is that if you want to start using it, you have to have an invitation code, right? And everyone's trying to get an invitation code right now. So it's very difficult to get access. Whereas if you set up locally, you can just get instant access today. You can also apply for access as well. I've tried a couple of times with a couple of different email addresses and not got access. And bear in mind, like, I have a decent social media following in the same niche. So you'd think maybe they would want to give you early access, but not so far. And then if you try and sign in, it just won't let you. So if we click on continue with Google and try opening this up, yeah, we can't get into it, right? So there is also a Discord link inside the AI Profit Boardroom, but if you want to get access to the Discord, they do announce invitation codes like you can see right here. So they share about 5 invitation codes right here, but it's first come, first served, right? And there are literally thousands of people. There's like 7,000 people online just waiting for an invitation code. So it's really, really difficult to get it. Whereas if you set this up locally using the GitHub, then you can just run this locally and get access that way. And it seems to be a lot easier. So for example, if we come onto the local version right here, what you can say, for example, let me pull this up. I'll grab an example prompt. Let's grab this. All right. So if we go back onto terminal here, we've got it running. So we've got Manus, Open Manus running here. And I'm going to say inside the chat, let me zoom in for you there. We're going to say, Manus, create a 7-day itinerary in Japan. All right, so we'll copy that in. Paste that in. So create a 7-day Tokyo itinerary with daily activities. And that's going to start running the request. Basically just doesn't have the UI, but it's using the same process. So you can see how it plans out the whole process. For example, we could also say, okay, create a 7-day. Let's pull this up. We'll have a look what we got here. So it seems to be working. Let's just try. Make sure it actually works. Create a 7-day New York itinerary. And let's see what we got back. So you can see here now it said, okay, the 7-day itinerary plan has been processed with all 14 steps finalized. And then if we go up, it's got the plan. Okay. See what we get back. Hopefully it works. So you can see the progress of the steps here. Interesting that it doesn't seem to be working now. So let me down on the live stream. Let's try again. All right, I'm just going to reopen this. So if we go to, we'll copy this command here. And we'll say create a plan for visiting New York, 7 days. And we can start planning out the process. There we go. All right, so now it's actually doing, I had to just close it and then reopen it. So you can see here how it's actually Googling, for example, and it's actually opened up this browser here as well. So you can actually, like, for example, use google.com or Google Flights or whatever, and start scanning through the internet, which is pretty cool. And also the API that's using when it's doing this whole process is a combination of Claude. So I've set Claude 3.5 Sonnet for vision. And then for actually using the research and the planning and just the main LLM, we've used ChatGPT, GPT-4o, right? And you see here how it's just going off, researching flights, navigating, entering travel details, etc., right? And then it plans out the next steps for you. So it also gives you a update of the steps so far. So for example, it's on step 8 out of 30 so far. And then you just get an update step by step. So if we scroll through the chat here, you can see how it's set up and use different things. It's also got a bunch of tools built in. So for example, like browser use tool, that sort of thing. It's not as fast as the demos make it out to be, but this is the open source version, right? So it's not the main version of Manus. And then it will just go off and start doing its magic. So we'll wait for that to load in the background. In the meantime, we can have a look through a few more use cases and that sort of thing. And so, for example, here we've got a WTF section. So, for example, like brand identity design. Let's pull up this demo right here. We'll see what we get back. And it seems to be able to run like terminal commands as well. So it can code, it can edit, it can use computer use, it can actually read pages live. And then it can also create files that you can download. So you can, for example, download that. And then if we open this up, we should have the folder. And then you can start using it. You can also preview the files here. And you can view all the files directly. So you've got the documents, the images, the code files, and the links. Let's come back to terminal, see where we're at here. So it's now doing another Google search, looking for Skyscanner. Coming up with a plan. All right. Some of the comments here. And yeah, I would just watch out. I don't think there's going to be many invitation codes set up, so that's not great. Let's see what else we got here. And this is on step 28 out of 30. So you can also do like audio engineering. Let's pull this up. So design sound effects that mixes birds chirping with stream sounds lasting around 3 seconds. Here's a bunch more examples, right? So this is a tweet by Min Choi. So you can, for example, like create an interactive website based on data insights. So it can actually, like, for example, code the website, but then on top of that, like you can see, you can actually deploy it to the web. Let's see what else we got here. We got interactive gaming. Seem to have created like a role play simulation as President Zelensky. Some crazy stuff people are doing this. Travel plan with maps, website SEO optimization. So, for example, it can like look at your website, give you some tips on how to improve. Plus, I guess it can read the HTML as well. Stock analysis, candidate interview schedules, B2B supplier sourcing. So there's a lot of use cases for this. It just looks a lot more freer than something like, for example, ChatGPT operator. Let's test another prompt here. So I'm going to say, plan out and find me some interesting things to do on the internet today. Let's do a stock analysis of Tesla. Let's try some of these prompts that we actually got online from the use cases. So for example, if we go back here, we'll come to the research section. I'm just going to try the same prompt that's inside Manus. So I'm going to say, I need to find the best price on rubber mats. Seems to be good at planning, but not good at actually coming up. Stuff. Let's see what else we got here. Do you know what I'm going to do? I think you might have to shut this down. So I'm going to press Control and C, and then we'll plug in the prompt again for running it on Python. So let's grab that over here. Copy that command. And then from here, we are going to grab, let's have a look here. Here we go. Let's grab that. Yeah, so it looks like, so for example, let's open up the browser again there. So it looks like if you're running it locally, the best way to do that is just Control and C, shut it down, then open it up again each time you want to run this. Otherwise, it doesn't seem to work properly. It just goes into like some weird planning mode. Let's try the potential customers one. So we're going to play this now, see what we get back. The other thing that would be interesting is like you compare these prompts versus something like ChatGPT and Perplexity. So we'll do that in a second and compare how it performs. By the way, so when you're using the local version as well, you just want to make sure that you do have, for example, the API plugged in directly inside the .env, right? So just make sure you have Claude 3.5 Sonnet set up, or even 3.7 Sonnet might be better. And then from there, add your OpenAI details as well. If you're wondering how to set up, you can actually go inside Open Manus. So you just set up this config file, and then you can choose your LLM configuration and also your LLM vision configuration, like so. But yeah, it seems to be able to do like Google searches pretty easily. And it can open up the browser as well, which is useful. Kind of the local version though, it's just, I don't think I would use this normally, right? Like it's nowhere near as good as, for example, using something like web browser UI or something like that. So let's see what we got back here. We have to scroll all the way up the chat. See what we got. So messy. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend the local version. It's worth testing, just see what it's like. But that is, I don't know if I've set that up properly, or not, but it looks pretty terrible if you ask me. All right, so what we're going to do from here is we're going to compare the results that you get directly from Manus versus the results that you get back directly from Perplexity and ChatGPT Flow. So we'll get operator on this side. We'll grab Perplexity here as well. So Perplexity has like a deep research method as well. Operator is kind of like similar because it uses browser use too. And bear in mind, like with Manus, you can fully control web browsers. You can create downloadable files. You can deploy websites, perform deep research. So it kind of combines all of the best features, but we'll test it versus, versus ChatGPT and Perplexity now as well. And just to recap here, so Manus is a Chinese AI, and it's kind of like the DeepSeek moment. You know, when DeepSeek came out and it kind of shook the world a little bit, it was like a lot faster and a lot cheaper than using ChatGPT. This is kind of a similar situation where it's just absolutely blown up. I mean, for example, if you go on to Twitter and you look at all the trending news around this, it's pretty wild. See, like, a lot of people are tweeting about it now. And bear in mind as well, like, ChatGPT was talking about doing a $20,000 per month AI agent plan. That was something that was leaked from the information. That's the source for that. But this is kind of like combining everything together, right? So it's kind of like Claude plus an MCP server, plus deep research, plus ChatGPT operator in one single thing. And like loads of Chinese social media is going crazy about this. So let's compare it versus, for example, ChatGPT operator and Perplexity. What I'm going to do is we'll go to use cases and we'll just compare it side by side versus this prompt right here. In fact, I've already shown that one, so I'm going to do this one. So grab this prompt. I'm going to say, I'm a middle school physics teacher preparing to teach the law of conservation of momentum. Could you create a series of clear and accurate demonstration animations and organize them into a simple presentation, HTML? We'll do that with operator, and we'll do that directly with Perplexity as well. Now, you could also, for example, try and use Claude, but the problem with Claude is it's not connected to the internet, right? So it's only going to have data. It's not going to be able to do deep research for you. So if you want to do deep research, really, your only two options are like ChatGPT operator, and also Perplexity. We can also, for example, like use a deep research method on ChatGPT as well. So I'll try that. We can just compare them. So this is ChatGPT deep research operator and also Perplexity, right? Using the deep research feature. Now, the biggest difference here is like this can browse live web pages, similar to operator, but look at the speed of operator. Like, look how slow it is when it's actually looking through pages. And also it tends to get stuck a lot. So for example, if it's searching something on Google Maps, that's going to be under that's going to be blocked. And also YouTube is blocked directly inside operator. Whereas Manus doesn't seem to have those sort of limitations. And also I like the fact that you don't have to open up the thinking here. So if you want to see updates from ChatGPT operator, you don't get much you don't get many updates inside the chat. You have to click inside each one of these, but it doesn't really give you much of an update. Whereas inside Manus, you get all these breakdowns step by step, plus the files as you go along. So for example, you've got like the zip files here, you can preview them, you can view all the files in the session. And then it also hosts it on an open URL. So this is the output from Manus. And it's actually done exactly what we needed to. Whereas I don't think ChatGPT operator will be able to do it. But let's come back to it now. So it's like, would you like me to proceed with creating the HTML presentation? I'm going to say yes. Complexity is still thinking about it. And deep research is asking me for a few answers. So I'm just going to click yes. Also, I mean, who is using Bing.com? Right, so Bing.com is loading here. But if I was an AI agent, I'm not going to go to bing.com for my answers, right? I'm going to use something like, for example, Google. Google would be pretty straightforward, right? Let's see if manus.space is actually indexing on Google as well. We can probably see some of the other stuff people are creating. So let's check that out. Yeah, so you can see a couple of pages of examples here. I'm not going to open that up for now. So this someone has created a like SaaS tool with testimonials inside manus.space. Right. So just to be clear here, like all the deployments from Manus are going to manus.space, and then some of this stuff is actually indexed. You can see how a lot of this is in Chinese as well. It seems to be way, way more open in China. I actually saw as well, like if you type on reddit.com and you search Manus, a lot of the results are actually based in Asia, right? So this is Thai, Chinese. Like there's not many people in English talking about it. I think it's just not fully come out to the world yet. Let's put Manus AI and see what else we got here. See what people are saying about it. So these are the benchmarks as well. If you haven't seen them already, so the Gaia benchmark compared to OpenAI Deep Research, and this is Manus in black with OpenAI in dark gray, and you can see the benchmarks here. Like Manus is absolutely destroying it. I never really trust those benchmarks, but you can see the difference. Let's pull up some examples here. So this was the 50 screens example. It just looks terrifying that an AI agent just go through the internet and do that. And apparently as well, it's going to be open source. I mean, this is the other interesting thing about Chinese AI at the minute. I saw an interesting theory on this. I'm going to pull this up and see what you think. So this is from Hader on Twitter. And he basically said, no surprise, China is open sourcing everything on purpose to crash US market, right? So for example, the situation with, I don't know if you saw this, but the situation with DeepSeek, right, was like it actually impacted the stock market to the point where Nvidia's stock price crashed as soon as DeepSeek came out. If you haven't seen that already, I've got a video about it recently. But basically, it actually plummeted Nvidia's stock price by 17%, right? And that's a huge amount to impact in like, the space of a few days. And on top of that, when DeepSeek was released, it actually resulted in a single day loss of nearly $1 trillion in market value for the US tech sector, right? Why? Because it's open source, and also because DeepSeek's API is just way cheaper, right? So it kind of shocked the market that you could be so efficient with AI. And if it's the same thing with Manus as well, when it gets fully released, then it's going to be pretty wild. It absolutely could impact the US stock market. Bear in mind, like the S&P 500 is mostly dominated by Nvidia. And so if they switch that to the price of, if that impacts Nvidia's stock price again, then that could create like massive changes in the market again. I'm not saying like the whole US market is going to get destroyed, but would it have an impact on the stock prices again? Absolutely. So I've got the HTML back from Perplexity now, but the thing is, it's not going to deploy it to a URL, right? Whereas, for example, with Manus, if we come back here, we can actually see the deployment, and it's deployed on a subdomain. And then we can click through each of these. So let's compare this now. We're going to grab this HTML and we'll just see how it performs and how it holds up versus Manus's AI. We'll preview this on LiveWeave. So this is the output from Perplexity versus the output of Manus. Right? And we'll pull these up side by side so you can see. So just to be clear here, Manus on this side, split up. So this is Manus's output, and this is the code from Complexity. If you compare them, like, look at the difference in coding. Right. So for example, you got a full menu here. You have a UI that actually works. This UI doesn't seem to work at all. Let's see if I don't think it's put any JS or CSS to add in there. No, not at all. Oh, we've got the JS there. Let's pull that up. We'll try it out. So we'll put the JS in there. I'm just going to plug all of this JS in. It is a little bit more fiddly, like not having a subdomain that is hosted on live. But to be fair, I'm impressed with Perplexity's output. So let's compare them side by side now. So it's actually working. And if we click through each of these, this actually works. We can click play, and that'll work perfectly, right? If we switch to Live Weave, so the output from Perplexity, the UI is just not as nice. There's no like real explanation of what's going on. There's no like buttons where you can play or pause or reset on Perplexity's output. And so the coding output is much better directly from Manus. And that's the biggest difference here is like Perplexity is a great research tool, but it's not like designed for coding, right? It's not out and out designed for stuff like this. Let's see what else we got here. So we're going to go over to operator, and it said task pause while you're away. That's not great, but okay, let's review it. So basically, ChatGPT operator is going nowhere, right? It's been like 15 minutes. It's not really doing anything there. So, I mean, the problem with ChatGPT operator is like realistically, it would just be faster doing it yourself or just using an AI tool manually, right? Especially if it pauses whilst you're using other tabs, because then, you know, the whole point of this is like this can do stuff whilst you're not looking. And if it pauses in between tasks and then you have to go back and manually click it again, super annoying. So Perplexity probably comes out second there when it comes to the research job. Manus comes out number one with the outputs. And then ChatGPT operator is obviously coming out last. Like it's not doing anything right there. It's not very useful at all. So this gives you an idea for how ChatGPT and Perplexity and Manus all compare to each other. Let's compare on another task right here. So I'm going to go over to productivity, and then let's pull up this one, website SEO optimization. So we'll hit play on that and see what it does. So this prompt is run a thorough SEO audit on Comparative's website and deliver a detailed optimization report with actionable recommendations. All right, and it will just go off and do its magic. So let's try the same thing inside Perplexity as well. I'm just going to give up on ChatGPT operator because it seems to be, look at that. I've not even been away for 2 minutes and it's paused the task. It's just a total nightmare. All right, we'll try another one. That's what $2,400 a year gets you. Now, ChatGPT Deep Research is still loading for 4.0. So, I mean, the thing about ChatGPT Deep Research is like, it's very, very thorough, but it's almost to the point where there's no information filter, right? It just gives you too much information. It's not very practical. And also, there's a massive limit on this. I think you only get like 30 searches per month, even if you're paying $200 per month. So it's not ideal, but let's just open up a new tab anyway, and we can come back to the other Deep Research report in a minute. So I'm going to open up a new tab. We'll select Deep Research, and we'll do the same thing here. The key thing to note here is like, this is really just this is just like a deep research tool. Perplexity can do coding and deep research, but not deploy stuff. And it can't really browse live pages, right? So it's not gonna like scroll through live pages in terms of like vision use. It's more like just doing Google searches. But with Manus, you can actually like see pages, It can do the deep research, it can code, and also is very quick. On top of that, it can also deploy, right? So it can deploy live domains, kind of like Claude Artifacts can, right? So for example, if you go into Claude, I'll try and find this example here. Yeah, so if you go into Claude, right, and you look, for example, we've got a Super Mario Bros. Clone here that we created, and you can actually deploy this. So if you click on this example, you can click on Publish here, publish and copy the link, and then this will actually deploy to an artifacts feature, right? Which is pretty cool. And then you can just play the game and whatever. Right? I'll put that inside the well, it's already inside the AI Profit Boardroom if you want to see this cloned example. But within, for example, ChatGPT, within Perplexity, you can't do that. You can't deploy to subdomains. And inside Manus as well, it seems like you can as well. So here's the research that you've got back. It does give you a lot more updates. You can navigate the web. It gives you all the details. And then also the other biggest difference is like this can create downloadable files that you can just download and preview and everything else, right? So if we open up the SEO audit report, we'll download that, or we can just preview it and you've got the report right here, right? Whereas if you go onto Perplexity, I mean, that's pretty good. I would almost say, like, if you compare the side by side, like this is actually giving you like practical examples of how to improve the web page, what to do, technical SEO structures. I might even say, honestly, the Perplexity actually beats Manus in terms of the outputs there. So Manus gives us a few different HTML improvements and what we can do, etc. But actually, if you compare it, Perplexity gives us way more. So I'm going to put Perplexity number one there. Manus comes out second from what I can see. I mean, this is totally hopeless, right? Like, we've already told it what to do. And ChatGPT operator can preview in the browser, but it's so slow. So it's like, I found an SEO tool, audit tool called this. Should I proceed? And it's like, mate, we just told you what to do. So ChatGPT operator didn't even do it. I would put that as a fail, honestly. And then if we look, deep research is just going to take a long time. It is doing a lot of research there and it's analyzing everything. Maybe the report will be really good, but that's probably going to have to take another 20, 30 minutes. So I just think it's impractical in terms of speed, right? So in terms of all three tasks, Perplexity is coming out number one. Manus comes out number two. Operator, I would say, failed. And I mean, I'd have to guess here because I don't have enough time on the stream, but I would say ChatGPT deep research method probably comes out third there. So that's pretty much it for me. If you want to get access to all of my best prompts, tips, strategies, agents, workflows, etc., feel free to get that. And we've also got a Manus AI section inside the AI Profit Boardroom, right? So if you want to run this stuff locally, based on what's worked for me, feel free to get that. Link in the comments and description. I'll show you how to set this up. So you just go to Manus like so. So on the GitHub, which is, you know, all these links and everything else I've referenced today is inside the AI Profit Boardroom. And then, for example, we can grab this. Let's go into terminal. We're going to set up Coda environment. Like you can see, then we can clone the repository directly from GitHub. And then we're going to run this like so. So we run the requirements. And then we're just going to run the Python code. I've already set up the AI configuration for this, so the API files and everything else. So it's going to take a little while for this to run. It's going to download and install the files here. Has it got stuck? Looks like it's still installing there. And then once you've done that, you would just set up the Python code like you saw earlier in the video. So it's still downloading there. And then you can just install your prompt, right? So for example, we can say, okay, 7-day trip plan, create a 7-day plan for visiting Tokyo with a day-by-day breakdown of what to do each day and where to visit. Honestly, though, like I think if I had to compare all of these, like I would genuinely say the local version is probably better than ChatGPT Operator, but it's way worse than the original version of Manus. But you can see here it has come back to us instantly with the files, right? So it's like, right, arrival and exploration of Shibuya, cultural experience, modern Tokyo and Shinku. So it comes back with the plan, which is pretty good. And it can do Google researches as well. So yeah. So that's pretty much it. There you got the demo, you got the setup instructions. You know how to set this up locally. If you want all the examples of how I set it up, you can get it along with the links to Discord, etc. And additionally, inside here, we've also included an example of how to set up, right? So if you want the open source section, I've got the step-by-step instructions of exactly how to install that with Claude. Along with that, it comes with all my best recipes on like AI agents, DeepSeek AI agents, etc. You've got a community where you can ask 288 people on how to set up AI. And this also comes with weekly calls with me inside the AI Profit Boardroom. The prices are going up on the 10th of March, which is tomorrow for me. And then this also comes up with, you know, all these different automations on like social media, email automation, web automation, AI agents, crash courses, etc. So loads of cool stuff there. And if you want to get a free one-to-one SEO strategy session, feel free to get that link in the comments and the description. On this free SEO strategy session, we'll show you how we take websites from 0 to 145,000 business a month and generate hundreds of thousands of dollars in sales on autopilot. On this free link building acceleration session, you'll get a custom tailored game plan so you can generate more lead sales and profits from your website. You'll discover the secrets of SEO link building, answer any questions you have one-to-one. You'll learn for your website plus how to quickly outrank your competitors with link building. And by the way, when you can ask those questions, like these are one-to-one questions where normally you would pay an SEO consultant like thousands of dollars for this, and you get it completely for free on this link building acceleration session. So if you want to get more customers for your website, if you want to rank #1 on Google, then feel free to book that in. And you've literally got nothing to lose by booking it in based on what's working for all our happy clients, like you can see. So feel free to book that in. Appreciate you watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.